Hey everybody, and welcome to a great show. And as you can see, my guest is live, and we're ready to be here. And I hope you're ready to jump. If this is your first time, the show is all about bringing interesting guests, like you see right there, telling their story, and hopefully their story will inspire you. So if you want to know what we're talking about, and how to get involved, stay tuned. Let's go.
You know you should be doing something different, right? Hey, I'm talking to you. Do you believe that you have the gift for greatness or have a special talent, but don't have the courage to take that next step? Always wondering how others made it look so easy? Well, welcome to Jump, the show that will bring you special guests just like you and me. How did they get the courage to jump into greatness? Doing what they love and living the good life. So, get ready to jump with your host, Charles Matthews Jr.
Yes, let's jump together and let's start off right at the bat. My special guest is in the house. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Charles. How about you, my man?
Listen, this is what I love to do, meeting interesting guests like yourselves. And we were actually talking for the first time. So there's no script on this. There's no pre-script. It's just we shoot from the hip and we just get to know each other really well. So give us some background, my friend. Born and raised. Tell everybody who you are.
Oh, geez. Well, my name is pronounced Dai, for those that are probably looking at that and thinking, what is that? And it's a Welsh name, means David. And Manuel, my last name, is Portuguese. So figure that one out. I am a mix. And as I said to everybody, don't worry, I'm just Canadian. Live in Vancouver, Canada, on the West Coast, which is, for those that are in the States, we're about 2 hours north of Seattle, right up the coast. So we're your northern neighbors. And, I'm 44 years young, proud dad of two beautiful girls, now soon to be 16 and 18, and been dating my wife for 21 years. So that sort of encompasses the big picture. And then obviously there's lots of things that I love to do in between. And I guess that will come out in our conversation today.
All right. So you scared me when you said two daughters and they hit the 18 mark. How does that? Is the pop? What do you have? What do you have? A bat? A pipe?
It's why I stay healthy and fit. I'll tell you that. It's a big motivation. We used to have an ongoing joke with my daughters when they were quite a bit younger. It was like, oh, don't worry, you'll be able to date one day, but they got to beat dad in an arm wrestle. So now that might backfire, as my wife says, because they might start bringing home some linebackers and some guys that I can't handle. So I've had to revisit that strategy as they've aged, and but no, it's great. They're amazing girls, amazing women. So.
There you go. Yeah. I got a daughter myself, so I'm going to learn from you. I'm going to learn from you, my friend. So let's start off with the young boy in yourselves. Before you got you're dating your girlfriend at the time, before the kids, what was the young you doing and thinking about?
Yeah, it was interesting. I've been someone that's worked in the wellness space now for 26 years, like my entire adult life. But I didn't come to the wellness space. Well, let's just say it wasn't a natural thing for me. And reason being is I like a lot of people, when they get into the wellness space, maybe they had a passion for fitness, passion for serving others. And mine sort of was more of an act of discovery than invention, if I riff on sort of what Simon Sinek and some of the other guys talk about. But, at age 9, I started to deal with just stress, anxiety, a little bit with social withdrawal, only because, I had gone through something fairly traumatic. My parents separated and then eventually divorced. And I didn't think it was a big deal at the time. But things started to shift for me emotionally and psychologically, obviously. And so I learned how to start to cope with some of that through mechanisms like eating, playing video games, watching movies. So you can imagine that those types of habits, if we do them all the time and those become our normal, it's not conducive to a healthy living. And so over the next 5 years, I pretty much self-medicated and learned to cope with a lot of stress and anxiety by eating and playing video games and watching movies. So I eventually got to the state where, the doctor pulled me in when my mom took me in for a checkup, and, the words morbid obesity was uttered, and I didn't understand that. So, at 14, I was morbidly obese, and that brought a whole lot of other stuff.
Right.
But fortunately for me, eventually got to a point at age 15 where I said enough's enough and made some changes. And that's what got me into the fitness and wellness space, was going through that transformation myself personally and getting excited to help others with it too.
Yeah, and I always say, it's a great story because you can, when you talk to people now,
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, I always say to a trainer, they say, "Oh yeah," and I said, "What? Have you ever been in a competition? Have yourself
Mm-hmm.
have yourself ever been overweight? Have you ever been this?" When you talk to people, you're coming from experience. You've
Mm-hmm.
lived it. You know exactly how they feel and what they're going through. So, how long did it take? Like, what was the breaking point? You go, "Okay, this is it now. Now I got to get enough muscle on me to arm wrestle my daughter's boyfriends."
Well, at age 15, if I was to, there was a lot of internal driving factors there. And obviously it got to a point where I was very depressed and withdrawn. And I hate to almost say it's a cliche, but, uh, you know, a lot of us know people that are struggling with their health.
Yes.
And, when we start to look at the things that we do every day and the habits that we have, it's usually tied pretty tightly. We're the results that we're producing or not producing. It's not like, oh my goodness, this just sort of happened. It's really taking ownership of our situation and accepting that, what, I really got myself here, because up to that point, before I made a decision to just fully make some changes, I was very good at pointing my fingers and externalizing all my frustrations on other people,
Right.
saying it was their fault for me being unhealthy and being unfit and feeling the way that I did. And I just remember getting to a point where I felt like, it wasn't just rock bottom. I felt I was under the rock, and I was suffocating and I wanted out. I wanted to change. And I got to a point where I was battling with suicidal thoughts, and it was a pretty hard time, at age 15. Also, hormones are starting to go, things are changing. My parents, I'd be spending different time at my mom's and alternate time at my dad's. And so life was a little bit in flux. I wasn't too sure, and got to a point where I realized that if I wanted to make some changes, I had to be the one to make the changes. I couldn't rely on others to do it for me. And I also realized that the path of change, as intimidating as it is, because I think we all know this already. It's almost pointless for me to say, but I'll say it anyways. Change is challenging. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's a lot of unknowns. It intimidates a lot of us. You think about people that stay in careers. Like I stayed in a career of 17 years before I finally let go of that. That's a whole nother story. But I understand how change can be very intimidating. And I got to a point where I said, okay, well, as intimidating that is, what's more intimidating and more scary is me staying as I am, continuing doing what I'm doing, and actually thinking that things might get better. That was, I think Einstein had a little theory around that, right? And so I ultimately got to a point where I was like, I got to make some changes. And so I came out of that bathroom after having a major breakdown, and my dad was rather taken aback. He could tell I was rather disheveled and besides myself. And I expressed to him, I want to make some changes. I don't want to be like this anymore. And it was for the first time in that he could remember, it was me driving the fact that I wanted to start doing something now.
Okay.
And so I feel very grateful that my dad and my mom, again, being separated, but they came together to talk about it, but they bought me a mountain bike because I wanted one.
Okay.
And I just started riding, Charles. I just started riding, almost every day. I went to the library, got books out on, to educate myself on fitness and on nutrition and healthy living, mindset. 20 months of consistently just trusting a process, trusting that things will get better. And after 20 months, just everything shifted. I changed. I changed though inwardly as much as I changed outwardly, just because of all that work and focus and just dedication to the process. And I'll be honest, a big external motivator for me was I wanted a girlfriend. I wanted somebody to want me, to love me. Like really. And I know it sounds funny, but it's true. Like when I think back on it, what was a big motivation for me? I saw the other boys starting to interact with girls, and I wanted that. I wanted a girl to want me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've worked with psychologists. I've worked with some counselors, over the years, specifically about 10, 11 years ago, where we uncovered a lot of those hidden connections. And, it wasn't easy, but I'll be honest, Charles, it was well worth it. And I think if anybody takes anything away from our conversation today is that change is often worth it, especially the ones that we feel like we're in front of. We're the ones driving that train of change. It's very empowering. It's nice to see, especially when we start to see the results manifest based on the actions we're taking. And that belief in ourselves just starts to rise, and it's contagious, right? As soon as we start to get that going, that momentum we create from within, we realize we are very resilient. But more than that, we can achieve often things that we never believed we could achieve before, and that's so amazing, right?
Yeah, and I love that story because change is the jump. For me, this is why I want to have
Mm,
your guests on there, because unless you take that chance and jump, that's your change. You have to take the
right.
chance in life. You have to do it. But what I want to know is, excuse me, we're both around the same age, and
Yeah.
over 30 years ago, there wasn't really a place for us to pick up the phone and
Mm,
as a boy and call and say, "I'm feeling this way." There was
mm.
nobody around your age or somewhere you felt you can talk to, or you thought it was embarrassing, or what did you think? You couldn't pick up the phone and call a friend, a buddy, a cousin, anybody? How did you feel?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a very lonely feeling, and I've come to realize just now at the age that I am, and especially over the journey of the last 10 years, that, you know, alone and lonely are very different, right? Like
Right.
it is very different, and choice comes into that a lot of the time. And I know I chose to be withdrawn, chose to be by myself, would avoid situations that were any large groups of people, especially people I didn't know very well, because I felt very uncomfortable. And I felt very, I had a very low self-opinion, of course, just based on that state of unhealth I was in, and all those negative thoughts and those voices, and they can often go from chirping to squawking to screaming, and it can be very debilitating. It would create a lifestyle of me saying no to things that people would
Mhm.
normally be excited to say yes to, and
Right.
there wasn't really any community that I could plug into. It's not like today where, yeah, we do have amazing access to
Right.
great communities all over the place. And, as I tell my kids, I'm older than Google. That's why I didn't go to the computer and search up all this stuff. Like I went to the library and funny enough, I started to educate myself so I could have deeper understanding of what was going on in my body biologically and chemically and hormonally, especially, and as well as just started to understand how to move my body with a bit more purpose to create a positive adaptation or a result. But it was the mindset piece that I really needed camaraderie, community to support me with. And I'm very fortunate that I was able to, as sheepishly and as challenging as it was, able to ask certain key individuals that I knew, maybe didn't know very well, but ask for support, ask
Mm.
for help. And I feel very grateful to today because, they act as mentors for me. And whether they even realize they were or not, because we never had that formal conversation, hey, will you be my mentor? Because I didn't understand. I didn't know that language back then, right? And
Right.
but I asked for support and they gave me that support. They didn't have to, but they did. And that was a real powerful moment in my life, just realizing that there are people out in the world that are very willing to support and help others to do things that they know they're being challenged to try to do,
Right.
and then help them create that and ask the right questions, right? Like sometimes it's just the questions that we're asking ourselves or have someone ask us that can be very clarifying for us in those moments of struggle. And so I just felt very fortunate. I was introduced to that idea of mentorship from 15, 16, 17 years of age. And those individuals, they really helped me through some challenging times. And to be honest, it introduced me to the power of support and the power of helping, the power of just being there for somebody. And
Right.
and then, from 17 on up to this day, I still continue to do the same for others because I just want to constantly give back.
Well, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to talk about what you're doing now to give back because that's all it is now, what you're doing, how you can help people. Stay right there. We're going to hear a quick help from Carolyn Dixon. She is a person that's helping people in business right now. And there's a little tip and tricks you can get from my website. So stay tuned and listen up.
Thanks, Charles. I'm Carolyn Dickinson, and I'm here to tell you that the Life Success Board systems are live. These success boards have massive impact. The system will allow you to be able to envision that anything is possible for every area of your life. It'll give you direction, it'll give you focus, and it'll keep you moving forward. There are 8 success board systems available to you, plus bonuses. So for more information on this amazing system, click the link below. You don't want to miss it. Back to you, Charles.
CMJ Entertainment is a one-stop shop. CMJ Entertainment helps people do any type of events, and it's a marketing tool as well. So we'll cover everything from start to finish, and in the same time, do some marketing to help you sell your product. If it's a wedding, we'll make sure your wedding is over the top, and if it's an event, we make sure that everybody gets information at the end of the day. Give us a call at 416-414-8964 or online, go to cmjent.com.
Hey, it's okay if you're driving or too busy to take notes. Charles has your parachute packed with all the info you need to jump into success. Check out the links section for all the tools you need to land safe. Now, let's keep falling with Charles and his special guest.
Yes, don't worry. If you're driving and you need to get some information, you can get back, and we're on Spreaker, so you can listen back to the audio. And we're gonna dive in and how this gentleman learned from a lot of stuff in his life, and he's now giving back, and that's what we want to talk about: how he's giving back and how he's helping the community and helping others. So let's dive right in as I put some information about your company and website up on the screen. So tell us a little bit more.
Oh, thanks, Charles. I'm most excited these days, especially over the last few years, is some of the work I've been doing with other men. I can't speak for others, but I can speak for myself. And I know that when I look at some of my earlier beliefs, especially as I went into my 20s, my early 30s, I believe that being a man was, chasing my success. Chasing the titles, chasing the money, chasing the things that would help others connect and relate, and believing that that's what would help me relate and stand out. And I used to look at all other men, and be brutally transparent here, and I'm kind of sheepish when I admit this, but every man I would meet, I was always thinking, man, you're my competition. I'd size them up. It never made me feel good. Never made me feel good. I knew that those feelings I was having, those emotions, these are not good feelings. I do not like how they make me feel. I do not like how it limits my ability to connect with other men, especially because I felt like I really needed some strong male figures in my life, and I started a process many, many years ago. This is now over a decade ago. My wife asked me a question, and I won't get into the question right now. I have a TEDx talk actually on March 27th. It's free to attend at TEDx Bear Creek Park. I'll be talking about male vulnerability, specifically around that story and the question my wife asked that got me started on this. But we started a group, myself and one of my good friends, while we were living in Bali, Indonesia for 2.5 years. And we just returned to Vancouver about a year ago. And we started this group to bring men together, to create a space that's safe and trusted. And it allows us to go deep in conversation, but also not have fear of being judged by other men, and not having what we use against us. And it's bringing men together to literally just share openly and honestly without that fear, that concern that, what I'm going to say here might turn around and be used against me. To any man, I'll be honest with you, Charles. I struggled with admitting to my mistakes, my shortcomings, some of my limiting beliefs. To admit that to another man, especially.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't do that. That was my belief. But as soon as I started to open up and have these conversations with men, it was crazy. It was oh, I feel the same way. All of a sudden, you start realizing we're so much more alike than we are different, and yet in our own minds, we think that everybody's out to get us to some level, right? Yeah. And so I really wanted that deeper connection. And, in the last 2.5 years, we've seen over 500 men show up to these free events that we have every Monday night. And it's so powerful, just to see how this has impacted them, their families, their communities in such a positive light. And so that's been it's alive and real for me right now, especially with the upcoming TEDx talk. But, there's no hidden agenda here. There's no business attached to this. There's no money needing to be exchanged. It's simply men coming together to support men openly and honestly and authentically. And it's been very just amazing. So that's what I'm doing these days to help support. And it's just got me lit up, man. I'll tell you that.
And I was watching a YouTube video yesterday, and it was a bunch of football players, and they were talking about how they as football players don't come together as men and say, "Oh, I'm having a problem. Can you help me out?" Or "I'm having this. Can you help me out?" Because, like you said, we're men. We don't call another guy and say, "This is what's happening. Can you help me out?" or whatever. We're supposed to handle it. And he told a great story. And I have to admit, I was doing it too, and I realized that I didn't even know I was doing it. He said he has twins, and one boy, one girl. And if both fall down, you as a dad, you run to the girl and you say, "Okay, baby, you're okay. Don't worry. Daddy's got you. You got a little boo boo. You're okay." And then you go over to the girl and you pick her up and everything's good. But if your boy falls down, as men, what do we say? Get up. You're okay. You're a big boy. You're okay. Don't worry about it. Big boys don't cry. You're tough. Get up. And I thought to myself, why do we do that? You know what I mean?
Isn't it crazy? Well, it's our belief around masculinity as well. And I know there's a lot of interesting conversations. We'll just say
Yeah.
that. But I think that there's a big conversation that's happening between various communities and cultures as it relates to this idea of what's a man, right? And I think we're starting to challenge some of these. I don't know. I would just call it limiting definitions, right? Like
Right.
they're very limited in scope, and we're all trying to fit into boxes. But especially when we start looking at just the conversations around gender today,
Right.
there's gosh, I just think it's such an interesting time right now. And so this idea of masculinity, what does it mean to be a great man, or what does it mean to be just a better man? Like that is the underlying questions that we want to address when we come together as men. It's like, well, where are we at right now in our own personal development? What makes us lights us up? How can we support each other? And it's such a novel feeling. Like, I'll be honest with you, like, 3 years ago, I knew there was something there. There was a void. There was something that needed to be filled, and I wasn't getting that fulfillment. And then as this has started and it's sort of just picked up and having these very deep conversations with other people, I've started to realize, gosh, back to the just full circle, that idea of loneliness and being alone, right? I may find myself on my own a lot of times with my own thoughts, but being alone or lonely is always a choice. And now it's like, I've got like a bunch of dudes I can call up at any time and just have a candid conversation. And it is so empowering to know that, and know that I can offer that to them in return as well. And, it's just, I believe, because I was morbidly obese as a team, I didn't get into any team sports.
Okay.
And so I didn't have the opportunity to play on teams and to get that camaraderie and the community within that. Because I've talked to, we've attracted like former athletes, we got a few CFL guys that come to our Monday gatherings, and to hear how they refer to teams and some of those bonds that they have as they've been playing sports their entire lives.
Right.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So I think there's a nice space between both worlds, and it's just a matter of how do we bring those together,
Yeah, I always say, listen, on my cell phone, I got, my top 5 on speed dial. When I need them, I just push the button, speed dial, they're there. Anytime you need to call. And it could be anything. Sometimes, listen, during the situation we're now with COVID, you're sitting there for months not talking to anybody. You have the phone. Pick it up and just call somebody. Say, yo, dude, what are you doing? What's happening? You all right? And that's it. So I love that. But let me ask you this question, only because you got the 2 girls, you're a father. I want you to, and is there a difference? I'm not gonna force you to choose, or I just want your definition between a dad and a father. Is there a difference? Are they the same? Are they different as you get older and younger? What is there a difference? So people say, "Oh, I'm a dad. Oh, I'm a father. I'm a," what is it?
Well, I used to always think that I'm a great provider. And that was my crutch, if you will. And what I mean by that was, I go out, I earn the primary income for the family, I support the kids, I support my wife, I must be a great man. I provide for them. Whatever they want, I get them. They need to be protected, I protect them. And so that I had a very limited definition. Okay. And understanding. And so I felt I was fulfilling that to a T. And yet, at times, I wasn't providing what they really needed. they didn't need me to pay for another tuition or another coach or another opportunity. They wanted a father, a dad to be there to support them, to have those sometimes challenging conversations, because they're just starting to navigate into the world, and they want a male perspective. They want a
Right.
dad. They want a father. They want that first superhero in their life, right?
Yeah.
And when I really start to understand that and lean into that, because it's uncomfortable to have those conversations. I'm just being honest with you. Like I struggle to have those conversations because my dad, and I love my dad, and I know he loved me. He passed a few years ago, but I know that we loved each other, but we didn't talk about emotions. We did not talk about any of this stuff. Okay. Any of this stuff. And so that was my role model, you know, and the typical male figures on my family, especially my dad's side, that was the norm. We don't talk about that stuff.
It's a pat on the head. It's a punch in the shoulder. It's a, yeah, I get it.
Uncork a bottle, like throw the sports on the TV, and away you go. And it amazed me, but that was it. And so I struggled a lot, especially in my 20s, my early 30s, before I got to a point where it's just like, you know, I don't like the direction my life's going.
Right.
And I believe I'm meant for more. I can be better. And the only thing that's limiting me is me. And it's a scary place to get to when you finally come to that acceptance and that realization, because then it's like, okay, now what? You know? And I think the cool thing is there's people like yourself, Charles, that are producing just fantastic, uplifting content, you know, content that opens our eyes, our ears, our hearts, our souls to different possibilities, to things can change. And I think that's what we all need. We just need reassurance that, you know what, change can happen. And I think I can actually be the one facilitating that in my own life. I don't have to wait for it to happen. I can actually get in front and start to create that. And that's just so empowering. Like it can start with the smallest of things, like me starting to ride a bike every day, you know, changing what I put in my mouth as that 14, 15-year-old boy. And over a period of 20 months, everything changed. Didn't happen overnight, but it will did change.
It will change. Take the opportunity, take a chance, jump at it, go do what you got to do. It will happen. But the thing is, it has to start with you first. And you made that decision. You just came out of the bathroom and you're like, enough is enough. All right, listen, this is what we're doing. A, B, and C. And then look at you now. You know what I mean? A great dad, father of two, doing some great things. And the main thing that I love, you're helping others. And that's what the thing is. I think that everybody has a gift. And your gift was put on this earth now to help others, to give back, because now they're going out there being great fathers and great dads. So congratulations. I'm going to give you a big round of applause, buddy.
All right. Charles, I love it. I love it, man.
Before we go, I have a quick game for you. Okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
It is called Rapid Fire. So I just rapidly fire these questions at you. You just tell me, you know, your answer. You can tell me a story on it, but it has to be like a quick story. Because
sure, I get it.
All right. So here we go. You ready?
I'm ready.
Right. Favorite song?
Well, it's more of an album. Tragically Hip, Up to Here. It was the album I listened to. Okay, so at 14, real quick. At 14, I remember borrowing my dad's Sony AM FM. Remember the old yellow brick? I would take that, and I had two albums, one on each side. And so I would listen to one side, and when it got to the end of the tape, it would automatically flip, because that was really cool back then. Oh, it auto flips. And it would flip. And then the second album, that's when I would know it was time to come back. But one of the albums was Tragically Hip, Up to Here. So and I would listen to that album almost every day out on the bike. So it's very close to my heart and to the changes that I've achieved.
All right, now we have to extend this answer. For those of you that don't know what a tape is,
oops.
I don't have time to explain it. Just Google it. All right, let's move on. All right.
Oh man, I feel old.
Real quick, you're doing a TEDx. Tell everybody when you're doing that.
Yeah, March 27th. So it's coming up in a couple weeks here. It is free to attend this year because it's only going to be streamed online. It's TEDxBearCreekPark.ca. free tickets. Just go ahead and hop on there. 12 incredible speakers. There's a couple 16, 17-year-olds that you have to listen to. One's leading climate change in Canada. The other one literally took it upon himself to start a business of creating PPE product with a digital, one of those printers. Yes. And it's a remarkable story. So those are just 2 of the 12 speakers. I feel very fortunate to be one of them. And I'll be talking about vulnerability with men especially.
Okay, so then back to rapid fire. What song are you going to listen before you jump on stage?
There's a song by Journey that's really partial to my wife and I. It's the Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah,
you know that song. So it's my wife and I. It's our song, and that's always the song I love to listen to, especially when I want to just get focused, get excited, and really just light up that passion.
All right. So, what is your hidden talent that nobody knows about?
I have the ability to help people do things that they often don't believe they can do. And I just help them get out of their own way. I don't know how that came to be. I think it was just going through my own process and having others help me with that exact same thing. And so I've gotten very good at helping people see that thing that's probably holding them back from just all of a sudden unleashing into what they want to achieve. And so that, I would say, is one of my special powers.
All right. When you were eating and you were just binging away, what was your go-to snack?
Oh man, ice cream and I okay, this one's awful. Okay, we all know what Costco is. Remember Costco? They have those muffins, and it'd be like 3 flavors. It'd be the chocolate, it'd be the poppy seed, and usually I forget that one. There's the trays of 12. Well, they're not muffins. Okay, those are cakes, and they're mini cakes. And I would often have a couple of those in a sitting. And it wasn't until I understood calories, all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, those are 1,200 to 1,500 calories per muffin.
Yeah,
per muffin.
I know.
I have a couple of those as a snack.
I know exactly what they are, and they're all like in order: the chocolate, the vanilla, the pot. Yes, I know those ones very well.
It was the poppy seed one. I was really partial to the poppy seed, and turns out, and it's hard to believe this, the poppy seed one's actually the one with the highest amount of calories and fat content, which is interesting, right? Like I would automatically think that either the chocolate or like the pecan one, like the one with all the nuts, would be that. There's actually a poppy seed one. The poppy seed. Go figure.
The one you think is healthy, right?
Yeah. Anyways, I'm glad I'm not doing that anymore.
All right. So your girlfriend, your partner right now, how long you guys been together?
Dating for 21 years.
All right. Yeah. So anniversary coming up. What are you gonna cook for her?
I am super simple when it comes to what I cook. I'll do steak, and then I'll have asparagus, usually some sort of a starch as well as a big salad. And I usually buy a pie. So, and we actually got married on December 12th, 2012 at 12:12. I can never forget the date. So guys, just a little tip here, pick a date that's memorable that you'll never forget. You'll never screw that one up.
Well, since we're helping the guys out, and this is a guys episode, you can actually put it in your ring band. So every time if you take your ring off, you look in your ring band, it's right there. It's always on your finger.
Charles, oh my gosh, that is just the money one. But you know what? And I feel really guilty. I lost 4 rings while I was living in Bali, all in the surf. And so I only use these cheapy rings now. The little rubber band ones, right? My wife refuses for me. I can't buy another wedding band. So, but I love that idea. It's so good. Maybe I should just get a tattoo of it, right?
Hey, there you go. Yeah. All right. The last important question of them all. Are you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
All right. So all the boyfriends that are coming to the house, the arm wrestling is right-handed. All right. So if you're trying
that's okay. If
you're trying to date matters, it's right-handed arm wrestling. That's what you're gonna have to work for. Right-handed, my friend.
My man.
It's been a blast. Before you go, anybody want to shout out to? Go right ahead.
Hey, you know what? Just because I know it's been a very male-centric conversation, but I just want to extend an open invite to any men out there. If anything I've said resonates with you, feel free to reach out. I'm easy to connect with. I'm just Dai Manuel on any social platform. It's the one best thing about my parents giving me a unique name, all before Google came around, because I'm very SEO friendly. So please reach out. Realize you're not alone, and I'm happy to have a conversation anytime. But Charles, thank you. Thank you so
No,
much for what you do in the world, and for this opportunity to connect with your audiences as well. And I'm really looking forward. I have a podcast kicking off in later Q2, and I'm excited to have you as a guest on my show. So more to follow on that one later.
no, it'll be a pleasure, and we gotta have more conversations like this. We'll do a special where we'll just bring some more men on and just talk, because I think, some people are scared to talk, but if they see us talking, maybe they'll do it. You know what I mean? I see some hearts coming up on the screen and some love. So thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for so much for taking the time. We'll see you next time, everybody. See you later.
Thanks, Charles. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. If you liked the show or have a comment, we would love to hear from you. Join our mailing list, and as always, check out our special deals links below. I hope this has inspired you to look at your life and jump. See you next week.